Last example here, most difficult example for sure. So we're looking to factor the denominator. Now the factoring of the denominator is a bit tricky here. I always want to look to see, can I take out the lead coefficient? And on the left one, unfortunately, I can't because 3, 7, and 2 don't have anything in common. So I can't take a 3 out because 7 and 2 are not divisible. So I do have to factor with a lead coefficient there. However, on the second one, they do have a number in common, and it's a 2. So I can actually take a 2 out of this one, and that's going to leave me with 9m squared minus 1. Well, I still have to factor that. So I still have 2 more things to factor. So when I go ahead and do this, I'm still going to have 2m plus 1 in the numerator, and I'm going to be subtracting 3m. Now, 3m squared plus 7m plus 2. So remember, I want to multiply to 6, but add to 7. So thinking of those two numbers that multiply to 6 but add to 7, that's going to be 6 and 1. I want to divide by the lead term. Now, 3m and 1 can't simplify, but 3m and 6 can both be divided by 3. And that's going to give me my 2 factors. One factor is going to be 3m plus 1. And the other one is going to be 3m divided by 3 is m. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now on the right here, we have a 2. And then that 9m squared minus 1 is going to factor. And it is a difference of 2 squares because 9 and 1 are both perfect squares and we're missing that middle term. We need to add to 0. So the square root of 9 is 3. So I'm going to have 3m and 3m instead of just m and m. The square root of 1 is 1, and it needs to be a difference of 2 squares, so plus and minus. 3m times 3m is 9m squared. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1, but negative 3m, positive 3m cancel. So that is how that is going to factor. It is still a difference of 2 squares. Now from here, the process is the same as everything we've been going through. So if I look here, I want to create a common denominator. If I look, I have 3m and 3m plus 1 and 3m plus 1 in common. So that means that is going to go in my denominator. I don't need to multiply either of the fractions because they both have that already. However, m plus 2 is only on the left one, but we do need to incorporate that in our denominator, which means we need to multiply the second fraction by that. Then we also have a factor of 3m minus 1 that needs to go in our denominator, but it's only in the right fraction, so we need to multiply the left fraction by that. And then last, we have this 2 here. So we've got a 2 here. We got to incorporate that. And it's only on the right fraction, so I do need to multiply my left fraction over here by 2. So now let's go ahead and combine the numerator by subtracting. So I would have 2 times 2m plus 1 times 3m minus 1. That's going to get wild. And then I'm going to subtract 3m and m plus 2. Multiply those together. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do to combine all this is I'm going to multiply in a 2, and that's going to give me 4m plus 2. Then I have to multiply that by 3m minus 1. All right, so let's take a break on that for a second and look over here and say, okay, well, this is just pretty straightforward. I'm just going to distribute that in. But over here, well, I have to essentially double distribute. Maybe FOIL you remembered. So we're going to take this 4m and multiply it in. But I'm not done because I also have to take this 2 and multiply it in. So this left piece is going to give me 4 terms, and the right piece is going to give me 2 terms. So I'm going to have 6 terms in the denominator, or sorry, in the numerator, and then my common denominator. So let's see what I come up with here. So 4m times 3m is 12m squared. 4m times negative 1 is negative 4m. 2 times 3m is 6m. And 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Then I have negative 3m times m is negative 3m squared. And negative 3m times 2 is negative 6m. All over our common denominator, which is 2 times 3m plus 1 times m plus 2 times 3m minus 1. Now all I have to do is combine like terms, which looks like there's a bunch of them. So I can combine my squared terms. I can combine all these m terms. And then I'm going to end up with just one singular constant term. So putting this all together, 12m squared minus 3m squared is 9m squared. Well, these 6m's cancel. Positive 6, negative 6 cancel. So I'm just left with negative 4m. And then minus 2. And that's all going to be over what we found our common denominator to be, which was 2 times 3m plus 1 times m plus 2 times 3m minus 1. Made it all the way to the end here. Now, yes, crazy long problem. Lots and lots of steps. However, it's all stuff we've done before. It's factoring. It's finding the common denominator. It's adding the numerator. It's multiplying polynomials and combining like terms. It's just putting it all together into one ginormous problem here. So just make sure we write everything down, take our time, but we're going through a step-by-step process. Factor the denominator, find your common denominator, multiply to get the least common multiple, multiply the numerator, and then finally we simplify. So we should have those steps written down. We've got a couple of examples. Now you're going to do some practice, and with that practice, really make sure you take your time, write everything down so you're not making small mistakes going through.